Good morning, students. In previous lecture, we discussed about various types of plant tissues. Today, we'll discuss about various types of animal tissues. As you know that an organism is made up of variety of organ systems, and these organ systems, each organ system contains variety of organs, and these organs are made up of similar kind of tissues. And tissues are made up of similar kind of cells. So in this way, a multicellular organism has a distribution of labor, you can say, where different types of tissue perform different functions so that the whole body can work efficiently. Firstly, we'll discuss what are tissues. Tissues are groups of cells that are similar in structure and perform a similar function. And these various types of tissues are present in a multicellular organisms, and organs are made up of these several types of tissues to perform a single function. And arrangement of tissues in a particular organism determines the structure and ability of organs. Animal tissues are basically classified into 4 types on the basis of functions that they are performing. And these tissues are epithelial tissue, nervous tissue, muscle tissue, and connective tissue. This is a detailed classification of animal tissues on the basis of functions which they are performing. First of all, the outer protective covering tissue, which covers all over the body as well as the internal cavities of the body, is called epithelial tissue, which is further classified into various types: squamous, columnar, cuboidal, ciliated, and glandular. Second type of tissue, important tissue, is connective tissue. This is a kind of tissue which connects or binds various other type of tissues and organs. Hence, it supports as well as it also plays a role of packaging tissue in our body. And this is of further 4 types: connective tissue proper, which is a kind of loose connective tissue, areolar and adipose; supportive connective tissue, cartilage and bone; dense connective tissue is tendon and ligaments; fluid connective tissue are of 2 types, blood and lymph. And third category of tissues is muscular tissue, which helps in movement and locomotion. And 3 types of muscular tissue is present in our body: striated muscles, non-striated muscles, and cardiac muscles. And fourth one is a nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is helping in control and coordination of our body with the help of cells called neurons. Today we'll discuss about epithelial tissue. Epithelial is a kind of tissue which covers the outer body of multicellular organism, and it lines the inner and outer surface of body organs as well, internal cavities and blood vessels. And it is present as a protective covering all over the body. Cells of this tissue are compactly arranged as a continuous sheet. As you can see in the diagram, cells do not have intercellular spaces, and they have very little cementing material between them. And an extracellular fibrous basement membrane is attached with the cells of epithelium that separates underlying tissues. Means epithelial tissue एक membrane के through internal tissues के साथ connected रहता है, and that membrane is called basement membrane. Epithelial tissue, as it covers most of the organs and cavities and the entire surface of our body, hence it is basically helping in protection and provides a kind of individuality to each and every organ by the covering material, you can say. And it also forms a barrier to keep different body systems separate. Each and every organ is separate, hence it is maintaining the individuality of each organ by keeping it separate. And as the cells of epithelial tissue are permeable, hence it plays an important role in regulating the exchange of materials between the body and the external environment. In a multicellular organism, mainly in human body, there are two types of epithelial tissue. If it is of a single layer, that means a single layer of cells is directly attached with the basement membrane, then it is said to be simple epithelium. And if more than one layers are present, or you can say multiple layers in which the bottom layer is in direct contact with the basement membrane and rest layers are present one over other, so that kind of epithelial tissue is stratified epithelial. As you can see here in this diagram, in simple epithelial tissue, cells are in direct contact with basement membrane, whereas in stratified epithelium tissue, only the first layer is in direct contact with the basement membrane. The remaining layers support the upper layer. Now we'll discuss types of epithelial tissue on the basis of shape. The first classification was based on the number of layers, and now this type of classification is based on the shape of the cell. If the cells are flat in shape, then the type of epithelial tissue is called squamous epithelial tissue. If the shape of the cell is cube-like, then it is said to be cuboidal tissue. And if they are tall or you can say longer as compared to their width, then the column-shaped cells form a kind of tissue which is actually pillar-like, and this is called columnar tissue. So on the basis of shapes, epithelial tissues are of three types: squamous, cuboidal and columnar. Firstly, we'll discuss squamous epithelial tissue. This type of epithelial tissue is made up of thin flattened cell. As you can see, the cells are flat and they are compactly arranged without any intercellular space. Nucleus is present at the center of the cell, as you can see in the diagram, and this single layer of cells is directly attached to the basement membrane, and this is a kind of simple squamous epithelial tissue. And these cells are actually thin, large and flat. And simple squamous epithelial tissue is present in alveoli of lungs, blood vessels, lining of blood vessels you can say, Bowman's capsule of nephron, and its function are protection, excretion and gaseous exchange. In lungs, alveoli and blood vessels, it is basically responsible for exchange of gases, as the single layer of cells provides a surface through which the gases can exchange. And this simple squamous epithelial tissue is also present in lining of our mouth. Next, second type of tissue is cuboidal epithelial tissue. This type of epithelial tissue is made up of cube-shaped cell. As you can see in the diagram, nucleus is present almost in the center of the cells, and function of this tissue is absorption and secretion. Simple cuboidal epithelium, as you can see in the diagram, is present in the lining of kidney tubules, thyroid gland and salivary glands, as well as in pancreas. And here its basic function is protection as well as absorption. And actually in kidney tubules it absorbs it helps in absorption of nutrients back from the waste material, and also it provides a kind of function of secretion in salivary glands as well as in pancreas. Next, third type of epithelial tissue is columnar epithelial tissue. As the name suggests, columnar means the cells are tall, cylindrical in shape, and they are placed side by side like columns without any intercellular space. And as you can see here, that nucleus or the nuclei of these cells are slightly shifted near the base of the cells. And function of this tissue is absorption and secretion of important materials required in various organs. This tissue is present in the walls of stomach, intestine and gallbladder, and in the walls of stomach and intestine. As you know that these are the important organs of our digestive system. So in the walls of stomach, it helps in the movement of food, and also it performs a function of absorption of nutrients through villi in small intestine. So these are the important functions performed by columnar epithelial cells. Next is ciliated columnar epithelial tissue. Ciliated columnar epithelial tissue is made up of columnar cells having cilia. Cilia means small hair-like structures present on their outer surface, and these cells also have nucleus near the base of the cells, because cells are just columnar. Only the difference is that they have hair-like structures present on their outer surface. And the basic function of this tissue is to facilitate the movement of materials by the help of cilia in various organs like respiratory tract. This ciliated columnar epithelial cells can be found in the trachea or windpipe, fallopian tubes, Eustachian tubes, and here it performs the basic function of movement of material. These cilia lash constantly, they move constantly and aid in the movement of materials in a particular direction. Next is glandular epithelial tissue. This is also a kind of made up of column-shaped cells. Mainly these cells, as you can see, columnar epithelial tissue. So you will find certain different type of cells named as goblet cells. These goblet cells have a specific function of secretion of mucus and some other important substances, and function of this tissue is secretion of important substances at the surface of epithelial tissue, and these secretions aid in various functions. Like these kind of tissues are present in the walls of epithelium in lining of stomach and small intestine. There they perform the function of secreting various enzymes which are useful for digestion. Also the walls of stomach secretes HCl and other digestive juices. So all these juices are secreted by these glandular epithelial cells. Some epithelial cells fold inwards to form multicellular glands, and these cells are further classified as exocrine glands and endocrine glands. And also glandular epithelium forms these tubular glands by folding inwards, and such glands when present in skin are known as sweat glands, which help to release sweat. Next is stratified epithelial tissue. All the variety of tissues which we discussed earlier, they are all simple epithelial tissues because they were made up of a single layer of cells. Now we'll discuss stratified epithelial tissue, which is made up of multiple layers of cells. And these layers may be of same shape or different shape, and only one layer is in direct contact with basement membrane. The remaining layers support the upper layer. A type of stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Squamous means flat cells, and stratified squamous epithelial tissue is found in our skin. Our skin is made up of multi-layers of squamous epithelial tissue, which is called stratified squamous epithelial tissue. And in this way, our skin helps to protect our underlying tissues, and also it prevents wear and tear of our skin. I hope this epithelial tissue is clear to you all. Thank you and have a nice day.